guys, Kyle Moore here coming from the golf room, and today what I want to talk to you guys about is playing and building a swing built around physics and efficiency, because ultimately what we're trying to do is build a swing that has the maximum amount of time for the minimum amount of compensation, rather than the maximum amount of compensation in the minimum amount of time. So I've got my playing board here at an outdoor location at the Golf Club of Dublin, and really what we want to show, I want to go over a couple bullet points of what I like to see in the golf swing at certain areas if we're just kind of building some type of, we'll say, a model for a swing. So the definition, I guess an easy way of thinking about this, a definition for a club that's on plane is, if you can imagine there's a target line all the way down the bottom of this board. When we swing the club, we want the low end of the club to always be looking at the target line or parallel as the club is going back. So you can see how the club was looking at the target line, parallel, looking at the target line, then I'm up to the top, my arms kind of fall, it's still looking at the target line, now it's back to parallel, target line, target line, target line, target line. So that would be the definition of a club that's on plane. So one thing, if you guys are doing some stuff at home and doing some mirror work, one thing that I like to see is on the backswing, to feel like the club is working around your pivot. So if I was to do that correctly, putting this in my belly button, turning, you can see at that point my hands are kind of disappeared into my left thigh, and the club head is just a little bit outside my hands or on top of my hands. Then as I take the club back, my left arm is going to be parallel to my shoulder plane and have my hands about an inch behind my heels or on my heel line or so. The reason why that's so important is we want our hands at the top to take a straight line at the golf ball. If they're up here and they take a straight line, I'm going to be over the plane. So if I'm up here, I have to kind of loop my hands back down to get that club on plane, and that would be having a swing that has a little bit more compensation. Like we said, we don't want a swing of compensation. So so when you do this, so you can see my hands are kind of disappearing in my thigh, club's over my hands, up to the top, left arm is parallel. Now I'm just kind of dropping my arms towards the ball, which would be like Jack Nicklaus, feeling like his back was to the target. And when I get to here, a kind of a point that I like to see is, at this spot, my knees are square, my chest is maybe a little shut, and what that allows me to do is really rotate through the ball and match up the club face with my pivot, because we want to really control the club face. If you control the face, you can control the golf ball, because that determines 80% of where it goes. So if someone, for instance, said you had a really high plane, or you guys were on Trackman or something, and the plane number was like 65, you know, so a lot of times that means essentially this board is up, right? It's more vertical, and if it was a lower plane, like 52, this would be a little flatter. There's a lot of ways that number is created, because it's measured at impact with Trackman, but it kind of gives you an illustration of what it means when someone says swing plane and is your swing on plane. So hopefully this clears up some questions, maybe gives you a couple bullet points of what to look for in your golf swing, and thanks so much for tuning in.
So Zach Johnson does a great job of kind of swinging and giving us an example of swinging on that plane board. As you can see, Zach takes the club back on the plane board, and the club is looking at the target line while doing that. Then his right arm folds, goes up to the top. The low end of the club, which is now the grip end, is still looking at the target line. The club comes back down, getting back on the plane board, and then back around the arc. Always having that low end of the club looking at the target line. A great illustration to work on at home.